All right, how you guys doing? Kerry Sullivan here with howtokickassinsales.com. And today, really excited to have this guy on. He's doing all kinds of big things. His name is Will Barron, and he started Salesman.red. That's right, Salesman.red. Go check it out. And he's basically put together a great bunch of information on there for sales professionals, how to take things to the next level. And he's got big ambitions to be the #1 sales blog and podcast out there, and by the end of the year. So he's got all kinds of great information. I listen to his podcasts, and I read the stuff on his blog as well, and I've just really enjoyed it. And he was kind enough to come on here and join us. And so welcome to the interview, Will Barron. Thanks for coming on, Will.
You are more than welcome, sir. I'm looking forward. I've just mentioned before we start recording then, I'm loving the stuff you're doing, full of energy. And yeah, I think between us, there's something to go at here, breaking up what is really something that bores me. A lot of the sales podcasts, magazines, books, they're all a bit slow, and they're not really they don't engage me. They're too they don't take into consideration perhaps how old are you, Kerry?
I'm 33.
33. I'm 28, and I think most people are writing and producing these bits of content are 50 plus. So that there's a gap there, and I think you and I, sir, can help fill some of that deficit. Yeah.
So let's get into that actually. So you get the old school people, then you get the new guard coming in, and I cringe at some of the stuff the older guys start talking about, and they'll say things like the internet is stupid. You can't get any good leads online, things like that, among other things. But what do you see being the gaps, and just talk about that?
Well, look, the biggest gap is that I was online when I was about 13 or 14, chatting to my mates in school on MSN Messenger. The gap is that from that age, the internet has been involved in my life pretty much every day since, as probably with yourself, and as with, so I've got 2 younger brothers, and they're even more so because they were brought in it from when they were like 9, 10-ish. That's what's changed, in the buyers in the market now are our age, and people our age who are getting more senior positions, and they're happy to have people, follow up over social media or email them rather than necessarily have to phone them and sell on the phone. So the whole dynamics of sales is shifting, and some people are being left behind. Some people are trying to jump in on it, even though they've perhaps not lived it, which is cool. And, if you've got research and data and all that, that makes sort of sense as well. But in reality, it's the people on the ground floor who are our kind of age and younger that are really changing things up. And I think that's the difference here.
Yeah. So let's just talk about, where do you see the future of sales going?
Oh man, that's a massive question. But look, in a nutshell, and I talk about this on my show, the Salesman Podcast. It's a question I ask every guest that comes on, and picking their brains and my thoughts as well. Look, I think sales is gonna you're not gonna have the order takers anymore. Anyone that can be replaced with an online order form will just be dropped. They're done. They're gone. So ask yourself, you listen to this, ask yourself that question: could you just be replaced by an FAQ on a website and a form? Then you need to look at another role. You need to step up your game. The people that are going to be really successful are those that have a true skill and can add value to the customer. And that sounds really cheesy and cliche, but the idea that a salesperson is going to become a consultant is going to become more and more important. I think the salesperson is going to become they may not be called salespeople anymore. I don't know. The business development kind of title might take over, but they're going to be the assets. They're going to have a team around them to give them leads and to follow up with people. They might have even a PA, and they're going to go into a company. I'm talking B2B primarily, but they're going to go in. They're going to consult. They're going to give value that you can't get any other way than a person-to-person interaction, and then they're going to take home a big fat commission check from that, because there's real value in having that skill and that knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your sales background? How did you get in sales?
Oh man. So I did chemistry as a degree at uni. I ran a small business at uni, which paid some of the bills and that. I didn't know what I wanted to do afterwards, but I knew that I enjoyed the world of business. So I ended up going into chemical sales. That did not go all that well. It was a graduate scheme. The guy who was meant to be basically get promoted, so I take his job, didn't get promoted. So I ended up jumping out of there sooner than I expected. I then went to medical devices. So I've always had an interest in, technology and a bit of a nerd, that kind of thing. So the thought of going into theaters, dealing with surgeons every day, which is what it mainly is. It's 50% selling. It's 50% showing surgeons how to use crazy equipment. So I was showing them how to use the telescopes and all the camera equipment that's used in keyhole surgery. I jumped straight into the best company in the field. I think it was 18 months, 2 years on, their rival basically came out with their new system, which was better than the company I was with originally. So I got headhunted, shot over there. And then, from them, I just obviously loved the world of sales. And that's why we went into Salesman.red and the podcast and that a little bit later on.
Right on, right on. So in terms of the new technologies out there, what do you see being the big roles in helping sales professionals going forward?
Look, Kerry, I'm not sure. I think that I don't think there's any fully integrated sales kind of platform yet, but I think that's coming. So you've obviously got email, the business standard. It's replaced phones for, generating those initial conversations. But I think the phone is still super important. If you're not going to close a big B2B complex sale over email and especially not over Twitter, they might give you an into the person. And that's where I feel social media lies in this whole mix of you can build rapport with people, you can follow them, you can share articles with them and, help them out and add tiny bits of value before you make that first contact. But I don't think social media at the moment, or as far as I can see it going forward, is going to really replace anything like email or the phone. So that's the kind of upper level and the top level of technology. When you get that step below, there's loads of cool products out there that, for example, track emails. So when we've been going back and forth, I use Gmail, but I've got a plugin for it that pops up every time you email me, for example. Mm-hmm. So every time you open one of my emails, sorry. So then if I was trying to sell to you, I know you just opened it. So there's obviously some kind of connection and a slight buying signal there. If you open it 2 or 3 times over a couple of days, I know that then I probably need to follow up with you if you haven't got back to me because you're deliberating or you're thinking about something. So then I can follow up with you and say, look, yada, yada, yada. I know you've not got back to me yet, but I just wanted to give you this extra bit of information. So there's technology on that layer down, which I think is really useful. I don't know, do you use any tools like that?
Streak? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. So Streak is what I use as well. And then I think what's coming is the next level underneath all that, where you're going to get not just they've opened your email, they've opened the email, they've read it a couple of times, and then some kind of AI perhaps, or that's probably not the best word. There's probably a better word for it, like machine learning or something. But you're going to have all your leads down in a big list, and this software will tell you who you should be spending your time chasing, basically. I think it'll learn from the 20 other sales members in your team. It'll learn from what you've closed and everything that's gone on in your history working at the company. And so I think that is the next level. And there's people who claim to do things similar to that, but I don't think that's happened yet. And I think that is where technology is really going to change sales and mix things up.
Yeah, right on. So who have been your biggest influences in sales?
Look, the name that comes straight to my head is Grant Cardone. It's not even everything that he teaches about selling. It's more just his... So he has this thing, I don't know what he'd call it, a slogan essentially of 10xing things. So for listeners that aren't aware, this essentially means, and I do this myself in the different things that I do. If I want to sell 10 grand's worth of business or product this week, I'll try and sell and that's the goal, that's the fixed target. I will ask the question, how could I sell 100 grand's worth of it? Times it by 10. By doing that, you then start to go, well, look, I could do 10 grand's worth of business by calling a couple of people local to me, getting them to do whatever. If I wanted 100 grand's, I'd have to ask better questions to get a better answer and a bigger answer. So by doing that and you're following that route rather than the smaller scale route, you're then you might not reach that 100 grand target. You probably won't, because most people fail and get just below what they're aiming at. But you might get 60 or 70 grams worth of business, smash the original target, and it reduces your stress levels as well, because you're not so focused on that small target in the first place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we were talking about on the last one was with a guy named Jarek Robbins, really good interview. And we were talking about the daily habits of successful salespeople, because with what I do is I help people break sales records. That's all it's kind of like that 10X attitude, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think are the daily habits that you found, not what you think, what are the daily habits that you found with top salespeople out there?
Yeah, well, if you use the phone at all and you make calls, whether it be cold calls and this goes for emails, this goes for any process, I guess, for getting people into the funnel. And this is from my experience and from dealing with highly successful salespeople. The best salespeople have a goal at the beginning of the day that they do first thing of, if they know their funnels. They know if they get 100 people in one end, they'll get one big deal or one whatever out the other end. And so they will make those 10 phone calls, they'll make them 20 emails, they'll do whatever before they even start work, really, before they start trying to close business, to get that number to go in so it comes out the other end. I think that is one of the most underlooked aspects of sales. I mean, an example, we were looking at getting another sponsor on the Salesman podcast. So I just looked at the past history of when we've had sponsors on in the past, how many outreaches it took for me to get that one sponsorship lined up at the other end. And I just, it was about 8 emails. So I then sent 20 emails knowing that almost without a doubt, I was going to get a couple of people that were, and ended up fighting over the sponsorship at the end of it, because they could see the massive value in it. But the point of it is, I think highly successful salespeople, they know the funnels, they know the system, they know the numbers, and then they do the grind, they do the boring stuff, they get it out of the way at the beginning of the morning, and then it's done, and then they know that they can have the awesome conversations at the end of the day where they get to close business, which is what we all enjoy, isn't it? That's the fun bit.
Right. So when you get that sponsorship, you let all those other people know? Did you do a group email to let them all know that they're all?
That's a different. That example, I want to build long-term relationships with people, so I don't want to send a group email and rub it in people's faces.
Yeah.
And come across like a jerk. But I definitely said to the two companies at the end, and what they've ended up doing, because they're both CRM companies. I don't want to name names with them, but they're just going back to back. So they're having a month each for 6 months. So they were happy, and between the three of us, we came to that agreement. But I certainly let them know, and that pulls on all kinds of social triggers. Then that your time, if you can get the customer fighting over you, then you've just obviously done a great job in selling them in the first place.
Sure. Right on.
Without wanting to sound massively big-headed there.
No, hey, look, it is what it is. I mean, if that's what's happening, that's what's happening. So right on. What's the best advice you ever got in sales?
Best advice in sales. I can't think of a quote, Kerry, but it's probably along the lines of getting the funnel right. So I know I've spoke to Mark Hines of Hines Marketing about this, and Steve Richards of Foresight BP and a couple of other people, and this seems to be an ongoing trend of, as I mentioned before, with successful salespeople, that they know the funnel, they know the numbers, which is the boring stuff, which most people avoid. And yeah, I know that my success levels always go up when I focus on that, and then spend more time focusing on that first. So I know that I'm going to be less stressed later on when I'm closing people at the other side, because that generally, and you tell me your thoughts on this, but this is generally my biggest stress in sales, is when you ring someone up and you feel like you've got to close them. There's nothing worse. And then the customer knows that. They're like, well, why is he trying to push me towards this? He or she feels pressure then that you're trying to close them, and it gets a bit weird. Whereas when you've got the numbers right, and you know how much has got to come in before you come out the other side, you're then less worried, because, or the other way around, if you know that you can throw more people in one end of the sales funnel and you can get them out the other side fine, then you are less stressed, because you don't feel you have to close everyone, because you can just send some more emails, make some more cold calls, use social media, connect with more people, and get more people that way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The more people that you have in that funnel and they're qualified, like they're not just going to be, it's like sometimes you get people in there like, they're probably not going to, they don't. But if you got a lot of really highly qualified people in there too, yeah, it makes a world of difference for sure in terms of your
Kerry, on that then, how do you go about qualifying people?
The way I do things is online. So a lot of the time it'll go through an actual funnel, like they'll opt in for something, or they'll start, like a lot of these videos I put out there is the beginning parts of a funnel, right? So I'll have links that they can opt into, and then they can go through there. And then from there, I'll do all the upfront qualification through online, doing it online. And then
what question would you ask?
It would depend on what you're selling. So, I've done different things in terms of, I've worked on all kinds of different funnels. So it really depends on the market. Some of the things you can do too is you can actually have them fill out a questionnaire, right? And then from there, you can qualify those people into different types of funnels too, right? Mm-hmm. So some people might want whatever. It all depends on the funnel you're working on. But I like to let the funnel up front do all the work of the qualification, sorting people out, right? Mm-hmm. Versus like sitting there and there's nothing wrong with getting on the phone. I'm all about it. If you got no one to talk to, you can get on the phone and do some cold calling or whatever, right? But that's the way I like to do it. And I think that's probably the biggest gap that I see out there, because you get the old school guys who are like, no, work the phones, old school, whatever. And then you've got the whole other aspect of just the pure internet marketers, right? And they're like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to be around anyone and whatever. But the fact of the matter is that those internet leads that come through, they have a 400 to 800% higher chance of getting closed if they get face to face or on the phone with someone. Mm-hmm. Right? So what if you bring them both together? And that's what I've done.
I've not shown this to anyone else yet. I'll just give you a quick sneak preview, but we've got a whole book on the go of basically that kind of thing called internet selling. It's not going to be out for a while yet, but I'll let you know, and I'll send you a copy when it's ready. But yeah, that's where I see salespeople and the future of sales being of. Yeah. There's a lot of deals that just can't be done over an internet marketing funnel, as much as people want that to happen. The customer doesn't want it, and the customer is right. So they're giving you their money, so you've got to do what they want. A big complex B2B sale. If you're selling a boat, you're not going to be able to sell a boat through obviously it's not B2B, but you're not going to be able to sell a boat through a funnel, if you know what I mean, through emails. Right. You're going to have to at least get on the phone with someone. Someone's after going to show them around the boat itself. I don't know why I've got boats on the mind. I know why it was. A couple of weeks ago we were in Greece.
There you go.
We were over in Rhodes, and man, some of the boats there were ridiculous. Like there was one, I can't think what it was called now, the Yama, helicopter on the back of it. I looked it up online. You can drive a Mini out of it, so you can land wherever and just go around the island that you're on. 50,000 euro a week it costs to hire it.
Is that it?
Mental, absolutely mental. So yeah, so that's probably why boats on my mind as a purchase that requires a salesperson to get the job done.
Yeah. So that's I totally agree with all that. So here's my next question for you. Do you think salespeople are made, or are they born?
Salespeople are made. So, and I've had disagreements with this with loads of people, but the only reason that you'd be born a certain way is through your genes. There's like if you, I know you're into your triathletes and you'll know about the science of epigenetics and all the weird triggering with the methyl groups you can do to change like the expression of your DNA. If you've got the DNA of someone who doesn't like to talk to people, you can get over that. That's not a limiting factor, and that would be the only thing. If you were scared of talking to people, that'd be the only thing that would stop you being good at sales. Anything else, it comes down to like belief systems and limiting beliefs and your experience growing up and things that your parents have said or teachers have said or people of authority have said, which might make you feel that you're introverted. And again, if you're introverted, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that you're not going to be running your mouth and being bullshitty, which is something that a lot of salespeople who are born salesmen and have got the gift of the gab, they think they can just do all this by not practicing and thinking on their feet, but you can only get so far with that. So look, in answer to your question, salespeople are made, but most salespeople have had upbringings or things happen to them where they are slightly more extroverted, perhaps. So they've fallen into sales. But if you got someone, if you took 20 people, half of them said they were born salespeople, half of them said that they were definitely not. A couple of years, you could train them up to be excellent salespeople. I've no doubt about that whatsoever.
Right on, right on. So in terms of, have you ever had to hire salespeople?
I've not, no.
Okay.
I've sat in loads of interviews, but I've never done like a full sales management role myself.
Yeah, I was just curious if you found any, in your experience, if there are any traits that you look for, or any that you've seen with top salespeople at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would look for the trait, and yeah, it's a good question. I don't know how I'd define it, but essentially the trait of hustle. So if you meet someone and I'd look for someone who's prepared massively for the interview, all the standard stuff like dressing appropriately and all that kind of, if you forget all that, I would hire whoever is hustled the most to, one, get the interview. So I recommend people all the time that if you want to work for a certain company, get in touch with the sales management, even if there's not a job there, because you'll be first in line. They'll be that impressed with you if you're trying to network with them. They'll be that impressed that you'll be in there when a job does come up. Even if they have to interview other people, you'll be top of the list. So I would look for people who are just massive hustlers. They want it, and that they can build rapport with people as well. So you can have someone who hustles but is a bit of a jerk, and they're all about the money, and there's other soft sides of it that need to be in place. But yeah, if someone could shake my hand, look me in the eye, I felt I could get on with them relatively easily, and they were hustling to get the interview in the first place, hustling to make it the best interview they've ever done, then that would be the kind of person I'd hire. Right on,
right on. Well, in the beginning of the interview, I'm supposed to do the rapid fire round, but I completely forgot about it. So this is where I ask you just some quick questions about yourself. Okay, so what's your favorite color?
Green.
What's your favorite movie?
Right now, probably Fight Club.
What's your favorite book?
I've just read Fight Club, so that's probably why I was thinking of it in the movie. So I'll say that again.
Right on. Favorite food?
Favorite food? Probably enchiladas.
Favorite place you ever visited?
Sorry, the best place?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I like going home. I like going to see my parents, because as soon as I walk in that door, no matter what's going on, I end up just falling asleep on the sofa and just being really chilled. I don't know. They've probably got a carbon monoxide leak or something in there. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I'd say just go and see my parents, man.
Putting something in the food, right? Favorite superhero?
I don't know. I kind of hate superhero films.
Okay.
I'm sorry. People get really passionate about this.
Okay, who's your hero?
My hero? Kerry. I'd say, I don't know, cheesy, but my dad's kind of my hero, I'd say. He's been through quite a bit, and he's a good guy. He's always seemed to have done the right thing. So I'm going to say him, cheesy as that is.
Right on. And favorite season of the year?
Well, look, we're in England. I love winter. I love getting all wrapped up. We've got like a burnt stove and stuff in the house, so I love lighting a massive fire. But every winter, I say summer. So I'm going to say summer, even though summers here are absolutely atrocious. If I lived anywhere else in the world, it'd be summer for sure. But here it just beats winter, just marginally.
It's true. It's true. I used to live over there, actually. So.
Oh, wow. Whereabouts?
Aberdeen, Scotland.
Oh, man. You had it tough there with the weather then. At least we're a bit more southern.
It's not as bad as most people think. You actually get a little bit more sun there than most places. So, but it's quite windy. Very windy.
Yeah.
A little bit chilly. So everybody thinks there's penguins and polar bears up there. But, anyway, so that's that. Will, where can people find your stuff?
Look, come visit us at Salesman.red. As you mentioned before, we're trying to build the biggest blog and podcast for the millennial sales audience. So we feel it's a section of sales, subsection of sales that is massively under targeted by like sales magazines and the podcasts that are already out there. So we try to keep things Pretty fun, pretty cool. As much as I can say that without being massively big-headed. And look, we've gone from 0 traffic to about 250,000 page views a month in the past 4 months. So hopefully we're doing something right. And yeah, if you're on iTunes, check us out, the Salesman Podcast, and subscribe, and drop me an email as well at will@upgradedsalesman.com, and let's connect.
Right on, right on. Is there anything else you want to add? Any other words of wisdom or anything else?
Oh man, no. Look, I like sharing other people's words of wisdom. I don't think I'm in a position just yet where I've got my own.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, thanks a million for coming on here, Will. And like he said, go check him out at salesman.red. He's got great information, great articles, really good interviews. Got a great podcast too. You can find that on iTunes and his website as well. Check it out. Keep your eye out for him. He's going to be doing big things. And
cheers, Kerry.
That's it. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next interview.